Alright, so back to Kamen Rider Agito for this one. Um, so yeah, although if you're watching these in the future, in which case, um, welcome back to Agito, I guess. So yeah, catching up on the last um, 5 episodes, five of the five of the last 6 episodes that they have released on the Tai Tokusatsu World official YouTube channel. So, yeah, I'm waiting to do these in batches of 5, which means about every 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how many are released at a time. Or yeah, released at a time. I get up to the next 5. Is when you're gonna get these podcast episodes for Agito and Kabuto. So, yeah, um, may end up doing a few more uh podcasts in the meantime because I actually do want to watch Kuga because of the fact that Kuga is the series that came before Agito, and Agito is a sequel to Kuga. Just so I have maybe a little bit more context as to stuff that's going on in Agito. But yeah, um, so a lot happens in episode 6. So let's get to it, shall we? So first off, we get the reveal of Kamen Rider Gills. Yep, Rio is revealed to be uh, kind of a mutant, I guess, where he can like I think through force of will as well as maybe accidentally at times transforms into Kamen Rider Gills, although the form isn't named yet. Basically, kind of like a green version of Agito to a degree, similar like black undersuit to like green armor, but the difference is rather than it being a suit that manifests, at least for the most part, granted that may change in a future episode, but yeah, instead of a suit that manifests out of the belt, it instead is something he morphs into. Um, and the belt does appear around his waist, but he doesn't need it to transform. It just seems like a thing. Maybe he can summon more weapons like Agito does, but that hasn't been established yet. Maybe it will. It probably will in a future episode, but we will see, and I will talk about it when it happens. So yeah, so yeah, we see him transform into Kamen Rider Gills when he is trying to protect Mayumi when she's being attacked by a monster and everything. And yeah, basically he tries to fend it off from her and gets thrown around a bit for his troubles, as well as gets teleported up into the sky a bit, just however many feet above where she is when she's trying to run away, and goes crashing towards the ground. But before he hits the ground, he suddenly like just freezes midair and then transforms into Gills. Then when he hits the ground, he transforms back to normal. Essentially, I believe that was a break to his fall and making sure that he didn't get physically hurt and everything. So we have that. And I honestly kind of do like this reveal. They did telegraph it a bit in the previous few episodes, but it is just interesting. I think it's a reuse of ideas mainly from Shin Kamen Rider Prologue, is what I'm thinking. Though, granted, maybe also Jay and Zeto. I haven't seen those yet, so I am not sure. But basically, the thing where a Kamen Rider is someone who morphs from human into a sort of mutant hybrid creature that then takes the name of a Kamen Rider. So, yeah. Although, since Shin Kamen Rider Prologue didn't get any sequels like it was supposed to, I think it was supposed to get at least two. At least is what they were planning on. I'm assuming because of how maybe people at the time didn't like it, or maybe it didn't sell well enough for Toei to greenlight the sequels. Which kind of also happened with Jay and Zeto, as well as the fact that they were planning a third movie in the Kamen Rider the First series after the next, but they didn't get it didn't get greenlit for some reason. Um, it seems like there's a bunch of like started and stopped projects that Toei's been doing for years with Kamen Rider. But yeah, so I actually don't mind that um, idea being reused here. I think it's actually a little bit better here. The only thing I take issue with though is the fact that they just used the morph tool in whatever editing program they were using, probably Pro Tools or like whatever they had available at the time. Because I feel like the first transformation that we see when it comes to something like this should be a bit drawn out, should be a bit slower. And we see it happening in real time and everything. Because literally, what happens is they uh, they just have the actor suspended in midair above the ground, like probably like 5 feet above the ground. Um, he is enveloped in this kind of white energy light stuff that keeps him suspended in midair, and then he quickly transforms into Agi or not Agito, Gills, and yeah, they could have done a little bit better there. I think they could have maybe slowed down the morph tool a little bit, maybe, or found a different way to transition to that because I feel like the transformation should have been a little bit more drawn out, maybe for the drama a bit. But there is also something to be said though about not drawing it out and doing it quickly. This if I can compare it to anything, it's Dragon Ball's the manga versus the Dragon Ball Z anime, where you have Goku's Super Saiyan transformation, and I think Gohan's Super Saiyan 2 transformation as well, being pretty much instant in the manga. Like for Goku's Super Saiyan transformation, when he goes it for the first time, he is literally just pissed off that Frieza killed Krillin, and he gets so mad that he just instantly turns into a Super Saiyan after it's been built up for the entire arc. Um, then in the Dragon Ball Z anime, they drag it out for the drama. Akira Toriyama was going more for shock value, whereas the Z anime was going more for drama and building up the suspense and hype and everything. Um, and both approaches, I think, are fine to do. You just need to do them right, and I think both of those do well, or both of those, yeah, both of those distinct or versions do the versions of the events well. So they both work in their own contexts. And it's a similar thing here where I feel like maybe for a first time transformation, it works better in a lot of contexts or in a lot of circumstances to draw it out. Um, Especially when I don't think the morph tool really worked well because you literally see the guy morph into gills, and I just don't think it works too well. But yeah, so then when I think it's the same monster targets her again the next day, he shows up and transforms again into gills, which I actually this one kind of confused me, but at the same time I think it's kind of cool. When he shows up and he's walking through, I think the tunnel. I think it's a tunnel where he comes through, and he's following. They have a suit actor in the Gills suit walking right next to him. Then they use some camera cuts to cut to him transformed into Gills um, already, which I wonder if maybe that was like them admitting that the morph tool did not work too well or something like that. So they used a different kind of sequence there, or maybe it was just how the director choosing to make it different than the first transformation in the episode. I don't know. This is one of those weird things. Um, Whenever they will probably give him a proper transformation like they have given Agito in this, where he summons the belt and like clicks it and then it does the transformation. But yeah, interesting reveal there. So then we get the next or another reveal, which actually happens earlier than that, where uh, Hikawa, the guy who's trying to get him kicked out of the G3 program, um, says that he looked into Hikawa's background and basically he found out that Hikawa I think it's 6 months before the start of the series, um, saved some people that from like what was going on a ship that he was on, basically saved their lives, and he says that he thinks that that's the reason why the police force put him into the G3 program and everything. But he also thinks that the because that incident wasn't in uh, like protected files or whatever is the thing. Um, he thinks that they put him in the program to keep him quiet, is what he says. I don't quite get his logic, but okay. Um, I don't know. But yeah, it's just really really dumb. Like this guy is clearly out to get Hikawa and like get him kicked out of the G3 program and everything so he can have it for himself. That was pretty much telegraphed a few episodes ago. So I don't know. I don't know what this guy's real end goal with a bunch of this shit is, but it's also just like he really tries to look at things from another angle instead of like for how they probably are. Um, yeah, to which Hikawa doesn't really give an answer to when the guy asks him for a request or for a response to that or something. Um, but yeah, and then later when so Agito is also fighting a monster that I believe, no, I think it's the monster from the previous episode that shows back up again, and yeah, so he fights it, but then also Hikawa shows up in the G3 suit basically to assist him, and and yeah, and I think it leaves off with that fight, or maybe, oh no, I actually no, I believe the monster slips away and everything. Um, yeah, also the beginning of the episode uh, finishes the fight from the previous one, so yeah, where Agito wins the fight. So yeah, so then we get another hint, or not hints, but another thing with the boy from previous episodes, or the very last episode, um, who was the test tube baby, and he appears at night following a woman who is walking through whatever section of Tokyo they're in, and the monster that uh, got away from Agito, for some reason, goes to kill the woman the kid is following. And even though that monster sees him, and he shakes his head no, like just basically telling her don't do it. I'm assuming that the monster was a woman because I believe it's a female voice actress and or female voice actor, and yeah, I can't really think of anything else in regards to that gave me any other ideas and everything. Um, and so the monster kills her, and literally what the kid does is he looks at her and says, "Die by your own hands." It's funny because right before that, the like portal thing to whatever the hell other dimension I guess that the monsters are from, opens up above her, and the kid just looks at her and says that, "Die by your own hands," and um, the words basically take control of the monster's body, and she takes her arm and hand and just jabs her own stomach with it, and that causes her to disintegrate back into the dimension where she's from. And yeah, jeez, like way to end the episode off. I'm not even gonna lie, like that was in the last few minutes of the episode, and leaves off on a pretty ominous note, and it's pretty brutal. I'm not gonna lie. Um, so yeah, so that was basically it for all three of those. Mayumi also quits being the tutor for I think it's Mana. But yeah, um, yeah, it's Mana. I'm I haven't watched the show in like a few weeks, so apologies for not remembering names too well. Um, but uh, yeah, and she does that basically because she's like uh, being targeted and everything, and she doesn't feel safe. And then there's also the fact that she actively like tells Rio that she doesn't want to see him anymore because of um, his condition and everything. Because he tells her that his body isn't normal anymore and everything, and that's the reason why he also quit the swim team and everything. Um, and yeah, so not really too much else to say there. But she does clearly still love him and everything. But yeah, that kind of like drama and everything is what they were going for. Um, I'm trying to think. Oh, what else? What else do I need to address here? I don't think I have much else to address. There is one section where they have Mayumi like also cry. The actress doesn't like, she kind of like looks more stone faced than anything, while the tears like dropping down her face, and like I feel like she could have maybe done a better job where she was more emotional or anything, or something. Um, but maybe that's just me. But yeah, so I think a good episode for the most part. There is a weird thing with the filmmaking though. In some cases, um, there was a part where Shuichi gets like the feeling that for the monsters being there and him having to go take care of them as Agito, and they for some reason like slow down the camera. And I feel like this is probably a post processing thing. They like slow down the camera for some reason as it's panning towards him, where it looks like it's at half the frame rate. I don't know why, and it looks super jarring. Because the show is obviously filmed at like I think 25 FPS to have that more heightened sense of reality to it, and it just looks really odd. There's also a thing with some of the action later on, where Gills is fighting one of the monsters and Agito is fighting the other, and literally they cut like back and forth between the action and everything. So it gets more fast paced in terms of the action because of the frame rate, the camera cuts, and some of the stuff going on in regards to the pacing of the action. It gets a little disorienting, I think, because of the fact that it's playing at the full frame rate rather than like 24 FPS. Um, it just looks a little odd. I'm not gonna lie. And yeah, like I said though, just a little bit disorienting because of how it looks. Like I'm like used to like higher frame rates because of video games. But when it comes to filmmaking and everything, and this does apply to video games as well during like cutscenes. Um, when you're doing like deep like camera zooms and pull-ins and whatever, just quick camera moves that aren't like camera cuts, but then you mix it with camera cuts and everything, it just gets really disorienting for the human eye. So it's a little odd the way that they chose to do the action in this episode. Not to say you can't have fast paced action. In fact, I actually kind of prefer fast paced action in shows like this most of the time, as long as it's coherent. But um, yeah, it's just really, really jarring. So yeah. But other than that, I think a good episode. So yeah, on to episode 7. All right, so episode 7. So very interesting episode in regards to like continuing these plot points. So to go over everything that happens, first we get, well, realistically we get something that carries over from the previous episode, but I will save that till the next point. Um the first big thing to happen is that Hikawa gets kind of removed from the G3 program, as well as his two partners as well do, and they then or and basically the higher ups do that as a thing for reassessment because of the incident that happened on it's a ferry, not just a ship. Um, and basically, the thing was he was the person that saved everyone aboard that ship while that was happening. And we get a reveal as they're packing up that the police chief was elsewhere, I think on the docks, welcoming a friend to Japan. And I think they also say that there was something else going on at the same time that I think they like covered up or something. And basically we get um his female um like friend slash the other officer saying that the guy who got him or was trying to get him out of the program, Toru, I can't believe I forgot his name. Um, he is basically using that incident to blackmail the higher ups into getting him kicked out of the G3 program and everything. And and yeah, and they claim it's a reassessment because of the fact that they that Hikawa hasn't gotten any results against the unknowns and everything. And yeah, I do understand that, but it's like at the same time they know about Agito's existence. Even if they haven't clearly seen him, they know about it. So yeah, kind of weird how they haven't like tried to see Agito clearer, I guess, through that. I don't know. It is just really odd to me in regards to that. Um, but yeah, so we have that. In the next like plot thread, continuing on from the previous episode, although I guess most of this is continuing on from the previous episode. We have Rio being taken by the boy from towards the end of the last episode, uh, as he falls on the ground. Basically, his hands start like shriveling up from um, the after effects of the transformation into gills, and the boy takes him to a rundown building. It looks like for like I guess safekeeping out of like harm's way, I guess, or something like that. Um, and we see the boy take an empty bowl to get water, and he ages up into a teenager, and we get a new actor for him. To which I gotta say, they had the kid who was playing him at like what around like 10 years old. The kid did pretty well. He didn't have to speak, which is probably good. Who knows if he would have been able to act at that age? Which, funnily enough, he was the main guy. Apparently, he went on to be the main guy in a what was that movie? It was a Mamoru Hosoda movie, or Mamoru Hosoda. Uh, Your Name. He was the lead guy in that movie, which is interesting. You wouldn't necessarily go to expect that from him, but yeah. So, so good for him on that. But yeah, so basically they shot him just doing things and just reacting for the camera, which I think the fact that he's like stone faced and everything adds to the creepiness of the kid. So yeah, so I just want to give them a bit of flowers too, in regards to how they used the kid in the series, and how the kid just did everything he was supposed to and everything. Um, so yeah, then after he morphs into a teenager, um, we see Rio wake up and wonder where he is and everything. Um, we don't get an answer on that, or and who the kid is, which we don't necessarily get an answer for that, but yeah, just leaving off for I guess the next episode or one of the next few episodes, and yeah, and we also get the fact that Rio was apparently passed out for 3 days. Um, so yeah, so then in the final, continuing plot thread for this episode, we get a new monster that is targeting random motherfuckers and just murking them on the streets, and in one case, an amusement park. And and yeah, and I gotta say, I appreciate the first guy that gets murked by this motherfucker because like the thing about him is he kind of overacts the hell out of his death. He gets like uh, what is how to word it? He gets like flung onto I think a wall and then rolls down, stops for a second, and then uh, when he finally is dead, he or is about to just die. He, he just like strikes a new pose. He just moves his head again, and I think one of his arms, and it's just like perfect. That is just perfect unintentional humor. So yeah. So then when Hikawa goes to Shuichi's house to talk to um sorry, Yoshihiko, um he Shuichi goes to he gets a feeling about the monster, then he goes to go fight it, and he transforms into Agito, but ends up losing the fight. He just gets bashed around by the monster, which it's basically kind of like a crow, and like crow human hybrid monster thing, and so it can fly around and picks him up a bunch of times and throws him back on the ground and into things to hurt him. And literally, he just gets face planted into the fucking water and like passes out, and he's de-transformed as a result of that. But he also leaves Hikawa back at the house when he was about to get him some I think he said rice cakes and something else. So he was like chopping up what looks to be maybe some type of sweet, or it's either a sweet or maybe a thing of bread. I'm not sure what it is exactly. You probably said it in the dialogue, and I just didn't retain the information. But yeah, he was cutting up something. Then he went to go fight the thing. And he also told Hikawa not to drink any of the tea until the tea leaves, like completely, I think, dissolved into the water. So yeah, and I'm thinking that it's green tea is what they're drinking, considering that the tea in it is green and everything. Green tea is a big thing in Japan. I don't know if anyone listening to this has been to Japan or at least knows these things. In like every restaurant, you they will have water that you can drink, and if it's not cold water, it'll be hot water or at least warm water, and they will have like the tea mix that you can scoop up with a small like spoon and mix into your tea, or mix into the water to create tea, and it's interesting. I've tried green tea. I don't really care for green tea that much. I don't care for most teas in general, to be honest. Um, Green tea literally just smells and tastes like grass. Um, which I'm assuming it may be made from or something similar to that. Uh, I don't mind the smell of grass. I don't want to drink it. So, yeah, maybe hot take there. But yeah, a friend of mine doesn't mind it, but and actually kind of likes it. But like, yeah, but granted, he also drinks tea a lot of the time, so I don't know. Anyways, so he has a taste for tea, but yeah, so yeah, so we leave off on that. There's also the fact that it is Mana's anniversary of her dad's death. He died 2 years before this point in the series. And there's a running plot thread of that, which I think is the most important in this episode, or at the very least, it feels the most important. Because the other ones are just running plot threads that were set up previously. This is a new one where, basically, when she goes to, I'm assuming it's she goes to the cemetery where he's buried to pay respects and um, talk to him and everything. Um, Shuichi sees that her room is pretty messy and everything, and he goes to clean it up, and when he puts a book back on the top shelf of her bookshelf, or on the top of her bookshelf more so, don't want to be, I guess, entirely redundant with saying shelf. Um, he sees some newspaper clippings that she put into a book that falls on the ground, and he gets some memory flashes as soon as he reads the headline about her dad dying, and he has some like mental flashbacks, um, where it's a POV angle, and we get this revealed when Mana, um, like uh, sees him unconscious on her floor because he passes out from the memories coming back, and due to her psychic powers, I'm assuming she can read his memories and his thoughts and everything while he's passed out, and she sees from a POV angle her dad dying, um, and what is apparently Shoichi running down to him as he's dying. Her dad says, her dad tries to plead for his life and everything, but he ends up dying. We don't see, by the way, I just want to point this out. We don't see uh, the POV angle where Shoichi was the one to kill her father. It's left a bit ambiguous, which is good. But I'm assuming that he wasn't the one to kill her father. It's just made to look that way, and yeah, so he sees that her father died, and then he runs away and everything. And as soon as that's over, he wakes up and asks what's wrong and everything, and why he was on her floor and everything. Because he obviously just doesn't remember the last few seconds before he passed out. But yeah, and she asks him to get out and everything, and he does. And yeah, she's just left wondering what exactly that memory was that she saw and everything. So yeah, considering we see that the the crow monster thing is in this episode, I'm assuming it's the crow that did it, and we will get that reveal maybe in the next episode. But yeah, um, so yeah, we get a good amount of things that happen here. Also, I did not clock this because it's been several weeks since I've seen the first 5 episodes. The woman that got murked in the last episode, or towards the end of the last episode, she was um, what do you call it? The scientist lady that was analyzing, or in charge of analyzing, the ancient thing that had DNA in it that they were trying to resequence and uh, bring back whatever the DNA had in it, um, and everything. And we do get a flashback to Hikawa talking to her, I think in episode, like 2 or 3 or something like that. And she was the one who died. That's why the boy was following her. And it's like, yeah, that wasn't immediately obvious to me. And maybe if I were binging these episodes more close together, I could have probably recognized her better. But yeah. But it is good that they did establish that in this episode, just in case if you couldn't recognize her, or if it had been a bit since you've seen the previous episodes that she was in. Because, yeah, it's very helpful. But yeah. Um, and yeah, and then we also get the G3 team wondering if the project for, or that they were working on in the lab, um, was really a failure or not, because of all that. And they wonder that because they get a report that she has gone missing. So yeah, and that's how we get confirmation that she was the one that the monster from the previous episode killed. Which I think that's good that they did that and everything. Just to make sure that we didn't think that she was just a random woman that the monster killed and everything. So yeah, so I'm assuming that the boy was following her, maybe because maybe he sees her as a mother figure or something, or saw her as a mother figure, something like that. It also makes sense why he didn't want the monster to kill her, and why he got pissed that the monster did. So yeah, and had the monster kill itself. So yeah, just I like that, and everything. Once they pointed that out and everything, pieces really started coming together in my mind. And yeah, and I'm very glad that they did that. So yeah, so I think another good episode. It was fine. I think what is in the episode is good for stuff to come more so, and the fact that we see Agito lose is interesting, and we get these little pieces of the puzzle here, and we get advancing of previous story of a few of the previous storylines and everything, and yeah, serialized shows are good when they do this, and I do like that. Um, I'm thinking back to Kamen Rider Zets and the fact that the first half of the series, the first 24 episodes, um, had the thing where the second half of the Heisei era did this, where they had two-part episodes where the plots were not like self-contained in their own episodes. They extended to a two-parter and everything. Then from episode 25 on, they basically went to just a standard um, serialized show where they don't have two-part stories, and they have episodes that have their own self-contained like stories and plot threads and everything, and just little um, continuations of previous stuff. But um, it's just one of those things where they just continue on the series and just have it be an ongoing thing as opposed to two-part story and everything. So yeah, so it's a good mix of, I think, both the late stage Heisei era and the early Heisei era of the show. So yeah, when it comes to Zets in that regard. But yeah, and in regards to these episodes, or this episode specifically, liked it. I liked it a lot. So yeah, so on to episode 8. All right, so episode 8. Just one thing before I really get going on the episode. In this, they kind of establish Hikawa is uh, like awkward, is what the subtitles say for the official Toei subtitles on their YouTube channel. But I that the way that it's used is very weird. Like it's awkward in turn. The use of awkward there is awkward in and of itself. So I checked some fan subs that I downloaded from Earthy Subs that also have the English dub as one of the audio options, which I'm kind of surprised that they're not like also uploading maybe the English dub that was produced here in the United States that was based on the Spanish dub that the series was given. But anyways, um, and yeah, and I actually switched to that audio as well for the episode to check. In both the fan subs for the series that I have and the English dub, they translated whatever word they were using as clumsy, which is a more better fitting translation, specifically because the word that they probably did use, or that they used in the Japanese script, does mean awkward, but it means it in a few different ways depending on the context. In this context, it means awkward as in clumsy. And yeah, that is what I personally would have gone with. And yeah, I have been told that apparently these subtitles might be like AI translated, so I'm assuming it's something like maybe ChatGPT that they used, and then had a translator that knows at least some English or a decent amount of English to check them for like any typos or some bad like grammar errors or whatever, and then just like subtitle them to the dialogue and everything. And yeah, that's one of the places where I think the subtitles kind of fail to translate the meaning of the word that they used in the Japanese script right. So yeah, um, yeah. So clumsy would have been better because in two different instances, or actually, yeah, no, two different instances, Hikawa breaks a couple of small saws, which I will get to that in a moment as to why he's using them. But yeah, so in this episode, we get a few different things. The first is, I will talk about this. It is the Hikawa stuff where they're continuing on from the last episode with the crow mutant monster guy, and they're tracking down, or they're tracking it down through killings that it's doing, and they, because of Hikawa asking about it, they managed to see or put together that three of the victims, because it's gotten five so far, three of the victims were part of a family, while two of the other victims were, I believe, siblings, is what they said. So yeah, so we got that, but then Hojo, he says that they need to get G3 on it, and they need to pick a new like person for the G3 program, or sooner rather than later. And yeah, basically he he extends his apologies to Hikawa that he was taken off the G3 project because of everything, but he says he's still a good officer. So yeah, but we later find out in another meeting at the police station that Hojo was selected to be the new G3. So yeah. There's also the fact that later on in the episode, whatever her name is, Hikawa's like female coworker, she tries to get the G3 suit out of its like, I think, locker, and but it's taken away to be upgraded and everything. So yeah, so there's all that shit. And we also see Hikawa go to Shuichi's house to talk to Noshihiko and ask him about the bits of evidence that they got from the last episode, which I didn't go over, but basically they found from one of the victims of the Crowman's attack that he was betting on horse races, and he managed to pick stuff that apparently wasn't too far off from what the actual race results were. And so he goes to Yoshihiko's house to ask him if that means that this man could have had psychic powers. So yeah, and it's also funny because the last episode he asked Shoichi if he had psychic powers. Shoichi says at the start no, but then reneges on that and says he has like super strength, I think, or whatever. And basically just alluding to the fact that he's Agito, but doesn't say he's Agito. And yeah, and it's funny because Hikawa asks him if he has I think telepathy and telekinesis as well before Shuichi actually talks about it. So yeah, it's kind of funny how close they're skirting the line between Hikawa finding out and not. So yeah, it's kind of weird because Shuichi kind of walks the line of revealing he's Agito and not. Like, he doesn't really seem to have a lot of common sense. So yeah. So then we get another continuance of another plot line from previous episodes where Ryo is still in the rundown building, and he is watching the kid who brought him there, and he sees the kid age up again. which the audience saw before, I believe, and then Rio is now seeing him age up into a young adult, I believe in his 20s maybe, and yeah, to which we then see Rio transform into Gills, and the dude recognizes Gills, but he mistakes him for Agito at first. So yeah, and I do like how that's where the episode ends off with Gills attacking the dude, and he he it's actually really clever how they edited this, and I'm assuming that they probably did this for some other episodes too, but I don't watch the next episode previews a lot for Japanese TV because of the fact that well, for one, if I'm binging this stuff and it's all available at once, why would I need to? But also it's just like, yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to get spoiled on anything. And I know it's like to drum up hype and whatever, but yeah. But the way that they edited this was actually pretty good. So they leave off with Gills going to attack the dude, and where the next episode preview kicks in is the footage from the next episode where he goes in for the attack again, but it's extended and everything. And the sound even carries on, but the song changes underneath the dialogue. So, yeah, and the narration also kicks in. But yeah, minus the slight, what is the word? The slight pause in the audio where it's switching music tracks and also mainly switching music tracks and also just dipping out the dialogue audio. It was actually a pretty smooth edit, I'm not going to lie. And without that, you probably wouldn't think it's the start of the next episode preview. I wonder if they could have edited it to be a little bit more seamless, but yeah. Then we get Shuichi's plotline, which is he survived the last attack, thankfully, and he slowly heals and everything. And he gets to a park where a bunch of kids are playing because it's the next morning, and he saves a kid's little plastic plane that you can just throw when it catches the wind and everything and glides for a bit, depending on where you throw it. I remember having something like that where it was back in the day, over 20 years ago. It was when I was a kid, and it was it was basically the same kind of plane, except you got a basically a slingshot with a rubber band attached to it to launch it really high up in the air. And that was a lot of fun. But yeah. So, after that, he comes home and he looks into Mana's room again, trying to find more of the newspaper clippings that she had. And so then Taichi comes in and asks what he's doing, then asks if he had a hot date, which I'm trying to wonder, this kid's either 10 or around 10 years old. What the hell does he care about Shuichi's love life? It's really, really odd that this kid would be talking about it. Just seems kind of forced dialogue a little bit. But they get into a bit of a thing where it ends with Shuichi backing onto and falling on Mana's bed, and he accidentally breaks it as a result because he weighs too much for the bed, especially when he just falls on it like he did. So yeah, she comes home and sees what he's done, and he apologizes for what happened. Taichi got out of there so he wouldn't be blamed. But yeah, she asked him to get out. So yeah. He then proceeds to use his, I guess, carpentry skills to, build her a new bed. And mainly, I think this is just building her a new bed frame for which he can then put her old bed on, because the bed's still fine to use. It's just she needed a new frame for it. And yeah, so that's when we get Hikawa coming in because he has an appointment to talk to. Um, Sorry, I'm forgetting people's names. Yoshihiko, and um, Shuichi asks him to help out because Yoshihiko's not there. And basically, I think it's more of a time wasting kind of thing because, like, yeah, and I kind of like the dialogue exchange between them too, because Hikawa, I think, is asking where Yoshihiko is, and Shoichi says, basically, instead of an answer, or you know what's better than an answer? Sawing things or building things. But yeah, and he gets him to help, and that's when we get the awkward thing again. If I were to give Toei any bit of advice in regards to the subtitling of these things, when they do it themselves and put up them on their channel, I would suggest getting if you can, getting a native English speaker to look over your subscripts for you to make sure that the translations are not only good but also make 100% sense, because like I said, awkward, it does the job, but it hits like the brain wrong to a native English speaker, because the way that awkward is being used there, it means several things depending on the context when you guys use the word that translates to awkward in your sentences. Just saying, but your language, Japanese, is a very context heavy language. Um, to the point where if you don't speak it, especially, you need to pay very close attention to how something's being used. So yeah, there's also the fact that, like, I need to say this about the subtitling as well. So the Japanese word for I'm sorry is gomen or gomenasai. Gomen, I'm assuming, just means sorry, whereas the osai part means I am. So yeah, Shuichi says I'm sorry to Mana from the other side of her door, for him breaking her bed frame, and then he says gomen, which again just means I'm sorry, and for some reason the subtitles say I mean it. I believe at the very least these Toei subs do. While that's not wrong, it's just really odd. It sounded more like he was saying I'm sorry and then repeating it in a more, I think, definitely in a more, I think, formal fashion. I'm assuming gomen is just more of an in a what was the word I just used? Sorry, it's like late. In a less formal way of saying, kind of like how daijobu means okay, and daijobu desu ka means are you okay, because the desu ka means are you. Meanwhile, a less, and that's the most formal way you can say it, but then you can drop the desu ka as in and just say daijobu, or you can even say daijobu ka. And it literally means the same thing. It's just a less formal way of saying it. It's kind of like if you know Spanish, where if you say como estás instead of como está usted, como estás is a more or a less formal way of saying how are you, you know. And como está usted is a thing you need to say to strangers, basically. It's a more formal way of saying how are you. Just pointing that out and giving people a frame of reference who maybe don't know much Japanese. But yeah, there's multiple ways. I've had a little bit of nitpicks with subtitles, not only with Toei subs, but the subs that Shout Factory has produced for Kamen Rider Zets, when I do know the meaning of a word or phrase, and I'm just like, I wouldn't have translated it like that, but it's not wrong to translate that like that. But yeah, because I've been studying Japanese for almost 2 years, slowly. So yeah, so then after he manages to finish the bed frame and everything, he initially has Hikawa help him bring it upstairs, but it's not gonna fit through into their hallway very cleanly. So what he does is he takes the bed frame apart completely, which I'm wondering, I would have just maybe turned the bed frame up 90 degrees and just turned it that way. See, and just like, I don't know, carried it like that to Mana's room. It's kind of weird, but it is endearing because of the fact that Shuichi will just go to that trouble. So he takes it apart, then puts it back together in Mana's room, and she basically forgives him for not only breaking her bed, but I think also the stuff with her father, or at the very least, she is more warmed up to the idea of thinking about the memory that she saw in the last episode and being like, why did you see my father in your memories, or why was my father in your memories, and everything, and trying to address that and everything. There's also the fact that she also talks to Hikawa and says if like there's more that he could be looking into in regards to cold cases, I believe, and he says that to Yoshihiko, and he brings up that it's the anniversary of her father's death and the fact that it wasn't ever solved because they couldn't find the murderer. So yeah. So then after Shuichi puts together the bed frame and everything, he senses the Crow Man again and goes to fight it. He gets there because I believe he transforms into Agito on the way, and then fights it. He then busts out a new form and a new weapon. He pulls out a katana weapon, and it turns into Agito flame form, which is actually really cool. Makes him look more like Kuga than I think they were maybe intending. But yeah, really the main differences are the extra gold trimming around, like the shoulder. I think his right shoulder. I think his wrist cuffs, his helmet, I believe as well has more gold trimming, and everything. And I think the black undersuit underneath the armor, is also more exposed than on Kuga's suit, but. Yeah. So it looks really good. I'm not gonna lie. I really dig it. It carries on that theme really well. It kind of brings in the Kuga inspiration a bit more, and yeah. And on top of that, he has a really cool katana like sword weapon that he uses. And that's really cool. So he uses that to fight the Crow Man, and he slices the motherfucker in half, and it causes him to fly and then I think descend really quickly off of the building, on the skyscraper that they're on, and just basically I think burn to death. So yeah, so that's really cool. And then we leave off with the stuff I said about Rio and the dude that's there. So yeah, honestly, really good episode. I think it slows down in a few places, but it slows down okay. I don't hate it. And it endears us more to the characters. I also felt really, really sad for Mana because she has a flashback sequence for a minute, where it was like, I think one of the last few days that her father was alive, and it's her birthday. And so I guess her father also died around her birthday, which extra shitty for her and him. And she talks about how I think she like wants a really good like birthday present or something like that, or just a really good present in general. And she like rewinds in her mind the memory that she saw from Shoichi, and her father actually. This is getting me all choked up. He had bought her a bird. I'm not sure what kind of bird, but like a white bird, and had it in a bird cage that had her name on it, saying like for Kana. And he was going to give it to her. And there are also other flashbacks. I think one was in the previous episode where they would hang out all the time, and he really comes off as a really good father. Like he genuinely loved his daughter, and wanted to be a good father for her and everything. And it just genuinely like gets to me that like that he died in the way that he did, and that he's gone from her life. Um, it's just really shit and everything. And I think they did a really good job of making you feel sad for her and her father and what happened and everything. We didn't get an answer as to who exactly killed him. I'm assuming it was the Crow Man. We'll probably get an answer to that in a future episode. But yeah, it's just damn, dude. I didn't expect to like get choked up at this. But yeah, like I said, I think the writing was good on that. I think the direction was good. I think the actors did really well with those parts. The actor playing her father, and Mana's actress, I think, and also the actress who plays younger Mana, I think they all did really well with those flashback sequences. And yeah, so genuinely really good episode. I really liked it. Um, so yeah, so I don't really have much else to say here. So on to episode 9. All right, so episode 9, and in this we get some interesting developments. The first being pretty quick with Ryo, when he's charging at the dude from the previous episodes as Kamen Rider Gills. He attempts to, trying to think, it's basically just a jump kick. He just jumps up and then he puts his leg out and tries to kick this dude in the shoulder, and everything. But he just passes through the dude, and the dude just vanishes into the ground, because of his powers and everything. And he's wondering where the dude went, but also why was he scared of him? Because the dude said he was scared of him, which is really weird. But I guess it's kind of like maybe a survival instinct kicking in. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, so then we see Hojo practicing in the G3 suit after all of the upgrades it's gotten, or the more of the upgrades that it's gotten. And he basically aces the test and officially becomes G3's new operator and everything. And so he yeah, and but Hikawa's former work buddies, Sumiko and is it Takahiro? Sorry, I'm just checking the wiki really quick. I'm trying to get their names down. Yeah, Sumiko and Takahiro. Takahiro is impressed by Hojo, but Sumiko is not, because she just likes Hikawa better. Obviously, I'm assuming that she has a thing for him, is why that is. But yeah, so then sorry, I'm still trying to learn some of the names, especially while I'm tired. Takahiro talks with Hojo about Sumiko because she says that Hikawa is more likable than Hojo, and that's not necessarily wrong. And they talk about how Sumiko is basically a genius. She was born in New York, apparently in 1977 is the year that they give, and she went to MIT at age 15, and she, I think, went on to become a doctor
after a few years or something like that. So basically, she is a genius. She has an IQ of over 180 from what he said. And yeah, and they also say that she designed the G3 suit and everything. So basically, they do need her for the team and everything. So he doesn't want to get rid of her. And he does hope to win her over, uh, in the future and everything as they continue to work together. So yeah, um, and yeah. Before that, though, we see as well Tojo giving Hikawa kind of a backhanded compliment when he says that he basically says he wishes him good luck in his new division because he's on just the regular patrol and everything. And Hikawa wishes him good luck as well as G3. And and yeah, but then Tojo in the backhanded kind of way says like he's not gonna need Hikawa's help after Hikawa says he hopes to help him out as best he can. But yeah, so that's kind of the thing is Tojo is Tojo. Tojo. Hojo, Jesus Christ. Hojo is definitely the thing about this guy's name is that it's the same name as the character from Final Fantasy VII. So I keep thinking of that character as opposed to this one whenever I say Hojo. But I'm not going to address him as anything else because that's just what he's called in the show. Yeah, he has a first name, but he's called by his surname. So yeah, basically everyone on the forces. But yeah, um, and yeah, and he also says that uh, if he can capture Agito, um, then that may impress Sumiko and everything. Um, so yeah, so he basically plans to capture or try and capture Agito because he says every time an unknown shows up, Agito's not too far behind. So and that they must have some sort of connection for that to happen. Not a wrong assumption, but I think that's a bit of a leap for him to make at that point. But yeah, so we basically have that, and he goes on to take on the unknown that shows up towards the end of the episode and everything. So yeah, so then Shoichi and Mana go to or go food shopping because Shoichi uh, basically while he was gardening he sees that some of his plants are a bit ruined. The giant cabbage that he makes is a bit bitten into. This is what I am sorry that I still have to look up names. Yoshihiko um, points out and everything, and that he should probably use some sort of pesticide to try and control that problem. But he basically just shrugs it off like it's no big deal. And then he talks about how a tree plant, I believe, is growing in kind of uh, sideways or just slumped over or whatever. And that I think he asks if there's any like rope he can have that to like tie it to something to keep it up straight. I'm not sure what kind of plant it is, but yeah. Um, so yeah, so then yeah, they go the two of them go food shopping, and a woman um, named Tomoko, I think. I'm just checking the wiki real quick. Yeah, Tomoko Miura. Um, they pass by her when they're across the street. She looks like she recognizes Shoichi, and he and Mana across the street while having a conversation, and then Mana sees that she's looking at Shoichi like she recognizes him. So then Mana asks her about whatever she's thinking, and um, Tomoko says that she thought that she recognized Shoichi, but she doesn't know. She doesn't even recognize the name when Mana tells her Shuichi's name. So yeah, but they give her their phone number for their house in case if she does remember something, and we then see her at her house. She's taking a shower and everything after a long day, and calls them when she suddenly remembers something or like shit comes back to her, and she calls them and uh asks Shoichi to meet her at a place the next day at noon. And Shoichi is, I think, kind of in a bit of a funk, so he doesn't cook that night, and basically they just have nothing to eat but cabbage, um, and everything. So yeah, so then he goes to try and meet up with her the next day, but he, in a scene a little bit later, comes back and says that while he did try and go to meet up with her, she didn't show up and everything. It should also be said, after she called them, she also called someone mysterious, not sure who at this moment, but she called them and saying that the guy that she saw and everything that she recognized, he goes by Shuichi, just his entire name, his entire government and everything, Shuichi Sugami and everything, and um, and all that. So yeah, so then the police find her dead on the side of the road where she was walking to meet up with Shoichi. And Hikawa says he thinks he recognizes her but doesn't recognize the name. So yeah, he just recognizes her from somewhere. But then his fellow cop like brings or shows him her ID, and yeah, and he says he doesn't recognize it. Then they get into her purse, I believe, and get into her appointment book, and she wrote down that she was meeting up with Shoichi at noon. So they have a bit of a suspicion going on. So then they go to somehow they know that Shuichi and Mana would be walking there because basically they go food shopping again. I think that's food shopping that they were doing the first time, something like that. But then they go food shopping, or maybe they weren't. Maybe Shuichi was just walking with Mana. I can't remember. But yeah, so they go food shopping now, and as they're walking home, uh, we get a disturbance in a park, which is where Hojo goes to fight the unknown that shows up, and Shoichi gets a sense of the unknown that shows up, but before he can go fight the monster, uh, Hikawa tracks and the other guy track him down and ask him about meeting up with Tomoko, and if he can come down to the station with them to ask him some questions, because both he and Mana are surprised to hear that she's dead and everything. The weird thing about it as well is when Shoichi came home uh, from the no show, because he waited an hour for her, is what he said. Um, he was kind of like smiling and everything. Basically, they kind of established in this episode that he's maybe a little bit afraid um, to learn about his past, or at the very least, he's uneasy about it. Because again, he has amnesia about his life before he was found washed up on the beach. Um, and he doesn't quite know what to think of it. I think he doesn't really know how to like parse it, I guess. And yeah, there's also a thing with Yoshihiko where he gives Shoichi an application for a local, I think, university, where based a culinary school, so he can learn from teachers how to like cook more and everything so he can do something for himself. And granted, that's not a set thing where Yoshihiko is telling him he should do this. It's just an idea of what he could do with his skills and everything. And that if he has something else in mind, he would be okay with him doing that as well. Which I do like the support system that Shoichi has around him with Yoshihiko, Mana, and Taichi. I think that is really cool for them as like a found family kind of thing because Taichi is Yoshihiko's like biological kid, I believe. Mana is his niece. Mana's father was his stepbrother, is what he says in either the previous episode or 2 episodes ago, and yeah, and then Shuichi took in, I think because he found him or something like that, but yeah, so it's a bit of a found family kind of thing, which I do like that they have that as their family structure in this show. It's actually pretty nice to see something like that and something like and see it work and everything. Um, so yeah, so then sorry, just got distracted for a second. Um, Shoichi then gets a after Mana tries to vouch for him, saying that he didn't even meet up with her and everything. Um, he then gets another sense of the unknown and tries to run to go fight it to try and save the guy who is being pulled down into the water by it and everything. But and his partner take that as him trying to evade the police, and so they arrest him. Yeah, not the smartest move, Shoichi. But granted, he doesn't really have a lot of, what is the word? Common sense. So yeah. So, yeah. So that is where the episode leaves off. And yeah, a lot happens in this episode. And we are definitely setting up for another climax of sorts. So yeah, can't wait to see what happens in episode 10. I find this episode to be perfectly good. So yeah. Just the little touches that they put in terms of the writing and the characterization and the character work with these characters, I think is really good. So, yeah. So on to episode 10. Alright, so episode 10 and the last one for this particular podcast episode. So, a few things happen here. For one, probably the shortest one to go over is Rio. He shows back up and he gets a message, a phone call, that his father died. He gets a call from his uncle, I believe, that his father died. He's told apparently by exposure. Don't know what exactly that means, but whatever that is. And he left behind a briefcase of his personal belongings and everything. And Rio doesn't necessarily know what his father wanted or like anything that his uncle tries to ask him about and everything. So that's basically what that is. And we see that he's basically been holed up in his, I think, apartment is where he lives. Yeah, because it's a really small, dingy apartment. So yeah. And yeah, we just basically catch up there. Then we get stuff with Hojo, and he is basically really confident in his ability to take care of the unknowns. But about a little over halfway through the episode, he has to face off against the same unknown that he fought towards the end of the last episode, and that I believe got away from him. And even though he was shooting it with the G3 weapons and everything, he gets humbled so damn quickly and so damn satisfyingly in this episode, where he starts to fight it again, but it's time for it to get serious, and the thing just no-sells all of his hits, just like what happened with Hikawa and the other ones from the first few episodes. And yeah, the G3 suit gets damaged a bit, and he tries to use the regular like bullet gun basically because he has the grenade launcher as well that he tries, and neither of them can really damage the monster, the unknown, and everything. So yeah, and after the G3 suit gets damaged just a little bit, but is otherwise um, able to still be perfectly used, he um, ejects himself from the armor of the suit and just runs like hell, which is so damn funny and satisfying to see him turn chicken shit and just run. It's hilarious because I do not like this guy whatsoever. He has a he's kind of like a politician where he has this veneer of maybe niceness and pleasant trees and everything, but he underlying that is a bit of the narcissism and just being a piece of shit. Kind of reminds me of certain politicians that we have now. But anyways, so yeah. Um, so then the rest of the episode deals with Hikawa and his partner asking Shoichi questions about where he was and when he was going to meet up with Tomoko. Yeah, Tomoko. And he says that basically he just went shopping and everything for stuff for his garden and everything. Um, and one of the things he bought was the barbed wire to tie his trees in his garden to. To which Hikawa's partner says that the victim was killed with barbed wire. So yeah, so an awful coincidence. Um, they then check. I think I'm just assuming the receipt that he got with the stuff that he bought. They probably just swing by his house to see what was in the stuff that he or the bag for the stuff that he bought, and yeah, he did buy the type of barbed wire that was used to kill Tomoko, and yeah, so they're still holding him in the cell or not in the cell, the interrogation room, um, and everything, and they're trying to kind of get a confession from him. Um, so then we have Mana come in and help Hikawa actually track down the real killer of Tomoko. And she uses her psychic powers on first the barbed wire that they got from the crime scene to analyze what's going or to analyze the thing. And then she has Hikawa take her to the crime scene and she uses her powers again to analyze a footprint that was left behind and gets more details. She also proves to Hikawa that she has psychic powers when she asks him to take out his ID, and she gives him the numbers on the ID without seeing the card, because it's obviously facing him. The side with those numbers is facing him. So, yeah. So he takes the information that she gives, which is the numbers 6 and 2, and then I think a car, and a few other details. To which he, as well as the fact that Shoichi, while he did buy the barbed wire, when he got out of the store, the hardware store that he went to, he got bumped into by someone and accidentally dropped his shit, and that caused the some of the stuff to what is the word to fall out of his bag, and the barbed wire rolled back towards the store to the sliding glass doors, and it got stuck in there. And obviously, he didn't see it, and he didn't think that it was missing. But the person who did kill Tomoko just took it from him before he could realize it was gone. So yeah, I think Shuichi must have bought like a few things of the barbed wire, even though we only see him pick up one from the section it's in. Um, and it not just being, or not only just being on the receipt and everything. So, yeah. Um, so then Hikawa and his partner, what in the hell is his name? I cannot remember the life of me. Um, Koji, that's his name. Koji Kono. So yeah. They go searching for evidence and everything and where they could be. But then Hikawa realizes that it probably wasn't a license plate, which is what Mana thought it might be for the 62 and everything. Instead, he thinks it might be a train car, basically. And he and Koji go investigate it, and they open it up to see the dude who was with Rio in the last couple of episodes. So yeah, the test tube baby, and they bring him in, and he basically confesses to the murder and everything. So yeah, so they have him in a holding cell, and yeah, and they let Shoichi go free, and Kana's waiting outside of the police uh, department um, with him, or for him, and she also, I'm assuming with the help of Yoshihiko, brought his motorcycle there so they can go home. However, on the way back home, he senses the unknown that shows up, and he drops her off to go back home. And she says not for him not to take too long because he's cooking dinner, and he just basically waves to her as he goes. So then after Hojo fucks off and everything and leaves the G3 suit armor behind, Shuichi shows up as Agito and quickly dispatches with the unknown and everything, and just leaves the episode off like that. So yeah. And then we get a note of leaving the episode off for the next episode to fill in this gap of the fact that they got a quick confession out of the guy, or the dude, the test tube baby, but unfortunately, he has said nothing else but his confession. So, yeah, so we leave off with that. I think this episode is actually really good. I'm not gonna lie. Not as good as like 2 episodes ago, episode 8, but this episode is still really good. I like how Horikawa is, it's Horikawa, right? I don't know why I'm Hikawa. I don't know why I'm thinking of different Japanese names that sound similar, but Hikawa basically treats Shoichi decently well. He wants to act like, or he wants to make sure that Shuichi is 100% innocent, even getting him to repeat the same like routine he had, again, to make sure his story is straight and everything and consistent. Even though Shuichi is kind of more innocent in his thinking, he just starts to go over everything again from the beginning of his day and everything. Even when Hikawa asks him to fast forward the story a bit into later on in the day to get to the part where he went to go see Tomoko, he is still just, he only fast forwards a little bit. So yeah, but it is good that they don't try and like throw the book at Shoichi and everything and treat him like hostile or anything. But yeah, and the good thing is as well, he because he knows Shoichi a bit from previous episodes, he tells Koji that Shoichi is an amnesiac and everything, and they and he doesn't really remember anything from before they found him and everything. And there's also a nice detail where after running his prints and everything, they couldn't really find any record of any, or any missing persons report of him and everything. And I think also they couldn't find. I'm assuming they couldn't find his fingerprints on the barbed wire, but I could be wrong. I can't remember if he picked it up with just his bare hands or if he had like gloves on or not in the flashback. But yeah, but granted, that probably also is why they kept him longer, is because they couldn't. They probably did find his fingerprints on them because of when he bought them. But yeah, but also the fact that he actually did buy the barbed wire and everything. So yeah, I do like. I just like though that Hikawa is trying to give Shuichi the benefit of the doubt. He even tells Kana that he's hoping Shuichi didn't actually do it. So yeah, that he didn't kill Tomoko. And yeah, I also like that we get more development of Kana's psychic powers and everything. She is really looking out for Shuichi and everything, and it's really really cool. Really like how they're developing her in this way. Then and especially when we haven't seen her, we've seen like glimpses of her psychic powers, but not to this extent in a while. So it's good. And then I just like how the episode just humiliates Hojo. After spending the last several episodes being a dick and being like a really egotistical dick at that, he gets he gets his ass handed to him in a fight, and he understands why Hikawa was having such a hard time with the unknowns and everything. Even with their continual upgrades for the G3 suit, they don't have enough firepower to take down the unknowns. And also, it's now impossible for him to take in Agito and everything. So yeah, I do like how they're kind of playing with how everybody or the main most of the main cast really know each other, and they have a prior relationship to whenever they're going to reveal Shoichi to be Agito to Hikawa and everything, because you know it's coming. It's just a matter of when and how. And since I've never seen the series before, I do just genuinely like where this is going. So yeah. So yeah, good episode. Very much agree, or very much like that, and I think that it is a really good like thing, because I think Hojo was supposed to be a bit of a hate sink because of his ego, because of what he was doing, and the fact that he clearly was just trying to get Hikawa out of the G3 suit so he could be in it. But when he finally got in it, he had his ass handed to him, and it was just great to see him being taken down a peg. So yeah, I can't wait for him to, hopefully at the very least, apologize to Hikawa for doubting him and everything, now that he's seen what the unknowns are capable of. So yeah, so I don't really have much else to say in regards to this. So that's it for this one. Next one is the next podcast episode for Agito is going to be episodes 11 through 16. Also going to be doing Kabuto when the next two episodes drop on the Toei Tokusatsu World official YouTube channel and everything. And we're just going to go from there in regards to that. And also in a couple of weeks, more Kamen Rider Zets and everything. And now they've done the original, or started doing the original Kamen Rider series, which I'm going to keep exclusive to my Patreon for now. And when I can get it back, my YouTube channel memberships, because I plan on doing a video retrospective at some point soon. I just need to watch more of the episodes, which there are 90 fucking 8 of them, and I have like 80, 80, 86, yeah, 86 more to go. It's like, plus 2 movies, it's like, Christ. And the show, the original Kamen Rider series, is not easy to watch, I'm not gonna lie. But at the very least, I've seen the first 2 episodes of the next arc, which is 14 and 15, and I think it's genuinely getting better. Because there's a different energy to things. So, yeah, and they're breaking away from their established formula, which is fine for what it is, but, like, it just could have been so much more. But, yeah, so, guys, that's basically gonna be it. Again, if you want to see these or listen to these podcast episodes a few days early, 1 to 2 days maybe early, hit up my Patreon. It's linked in the description. If you And eventually, when I get them back, or when I get monetization back on this channel, YouTube channel memberships and everything. Um, so yeah, they're available on Patreon for just $1 a month. You get all the podcast episodes I produce every month. After that, and any other projects I produce in the future. Those are initially going to be at a higher tier than a lower tier after they come out on YouTube and everything. But yeah, plan on producing like not only like the videos I do, but like if I need to, like director's cuts, which will be on the Patreon and everything. YouTube channel memberships, not sure, unless if I can get the if copyright's a bitch, then it's just mainly going to be on the Patreon, unfortunately, because Patreon doesn't have like a copyright system like YouTube. But yeah, so guys, yeah, not really much else to say on this. I am tired, so I'm gonna go to sleep. So yeah, so links in the description, all my shit. Subscribe if you want, and I'll see you guys in the next one.